When you're researching everything that you do for something like the Elon Musk interview, how much time went into that? How much prep did you do in advance?
God, I don't know, how many hours, but we did a lot of prep. And I have to tell you, part of our strategy was, we didn't want it to be a gotcha interview because we knew people would think, and it would just be very simple questions. Let's ask him about his public statements. Let's ask him about his companies. So we asked about his public statements, and when I'm sitting there and I'm interviewing him, and he starts to get upset about things that he said publicly, I'm like, I don't understand why you're getting upset by it. And then I think the one thing that I didn't ask him about, that I asked him about it, that wasn't maybe something that he had spoken about publicly. I think it was discrimination at one of his, the Tesla plants. And I don't know if he had spoken about it, but that's public knowledge. But everything else is, about his father, his childhood, ketamine, his tweets, DEI, everything that he talks about advertisers. He was at DealBook and he told people, advertisers go themselves. Yeah. Why wouldn't I ask him about that? Yeah. That's not a hard question.
In hindsight, is there anything you would have done differently or improved on?
No, because I think that interview speaks for itself. I actually think I did a really good job when I watched that interview. I'm very proud of it. I think that interview, I know it is. People tell me I showed this interview to my students about patience. A guy just told me on Saturday night, I show this interview to my students because journalists have to be patient, because when you're patient, then you get an answer. So there were lots of awkward pauses. I don't feel the need to fill the silence with sound. And often you get answers in sort of that, weird discomfort of silence that you wouldn't otherwise get. So I just think that, on his platform, he wanted someone who had a different perspective. And that's what he said he wanted, but that's not actually what he wanted.
Would you still want to deal with Elon Musk?
No, at this point, no.
Okay.
Because I don't think he doesn't believe what he's not honest in what he says he wants.
Do you think if he apologized and came back and said, hey, I had a bad day, let's see if we can make something work?
No.
So what's interesting is, from your perspective, it seems as though, now correct me if I'm wrong, you see Elon as someone who's a bad faith actor. And when I say that, he's saying one thing, but actually he's
I do
feeling another thing.
Yeah. And again, I want people to know, I didn't have anything against Elon Musk. I was going into business with the man. Mm-hmm. So obviously, there was no gotcha agenda, but go on, what are you saying?
And as a viewer of this interview, it seems as though he felt similarly towards you, because he would explain something and he would answer your question, and then you would ask the question again or ask for clarification on something that I think in his brain, he saw it already as clear.
That's what a journalist is supposed to do, get clarity. That's the point.
I really like what you just said also about the beauty in like the silences and kind of just letting things play out. Because I think viewers, especially viewers that are fans of something, a viewer that's a fan of you, a viewer that's a fan of us, they go to try to hear how the interviewee responds to the interviewer. Yeah. Whereas if you just look at it and observe the conversation, and a lot of the stuff you could just tell by the facial features of like the person that's being interviewed a lot more. Like that tells a story in and of itself.
I think that the responses and the criticism that you are talking about, I think that is very telling about where a person's mindset is. I think that people watched that interview and they were like, oof, he could have answered that better. And then they came to his defense because they feel like they have to. Sort of their hero was, someone was telling their hero that the emperor wasn't wearing clothes.
I will openly say, I mean, I love Elon Musk. I think what he's doing for the electric car industry is great. I like the idea that he bought Twitter. I like the idea of it being a wild, wild west. I think it's needed. I like the dialogue between you and him about being free speech absolutists. Mm-hmm. Would you consider yourself a free speech absolutist?
Yes, 100%. I mean, I'm here and I go, I'll go into the lion's den and talk to people. I don't think, again, you have to go back to what the definition of free speech actually is. And I think that everyone should go and read it and then study what the Constitution says about it, right? But yeah, I'm a free speech absolutist. I would not have, feeling the way I felt about Twitter and then how subsequently I felt about X, one would have to be a free speech absolutist to go back into that toxicity and try to, move it in a different direction.
But you do not
Or to
see,
get people to understand a different perspective.
But you do not see Elon as a free speech absolutist.
I don't see him as a free speech absolutist. I see him as someone who's very consequential to the world. I see him as someone who has been very innovative when it comes to, the electric car industry, space, and whatever. I think that he's an important person. And I think that with that comes responsibility.
You were saying during the interview that you think certain things should be removed from X.
Yeah, of course.
So wouldn't that be like juxtapose that with the belief of free speech absolutism, which people should be able to say whatever they want?
I just think that, listen, there should be moderation. It's good. I would not want people attacking you or insulting you. I don't know what your background is or who you are, but I wouldn't want people attacking and insulting your family. And so you can say those things, but it doesn't mean that you have to be part of a platform or an organization.
I understand now. So you're saying as an owner of the platform, he should owe the users of the platform the responsibility of having content moderation. And I think his argument would be that his policy for his platform should be reflective of free speech absolutism. And if somebody has a problem with it, then that's...
It depends on what your definition of free speech absolutism. Again,
within the bounds of the law.
But that's not what freedom of speech is. Freedom of speech is not within the bounds of the law. That's not what it is. Go read the definition of freedom of speech.
We will put the definition of freedom of speech.
Yeah, and what it's meant for. It's not just like the Webster definition, but look at and there are consequences